What's up guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Brandon Smith and this is This Day in Mystery. The day is Thursday, December 4th, 2003. The film, Cat in the Hat, is #1 at the box office. Baby Boy by Beyonce and Sean Paul is #1 on the Billboard charts, and the former president of Iraq, Saddam Hussein, will be captured by the United States Army in the small town of Adar in just 9 days. Jonathan Luna is an assistant United States attorney from the Bronx, now living in Baltimore, Maryland, and today will be the last day of his life. Wednesday, December 3rd in Baltimore was relatively mild for December, with a high of 12 degrees Celsius. Jonathan Luna attended to his business as an assistant United States attorney in the Baltimore courthouse. Things were relatively normal on this day. Jonathan was fined a nominal fee of $25 by the judge for being late to court that day. To account for his dalliance, Jonathan explained that he had been at the hospital all night with his infant son, a fact that cannot be confirmed. However, to colleagues, nothing seemed particularly out of the ordinary. At approximately 6 p.m. that day, Jonathan left the courthouse, but he would be back numerous times. At 8:48 p.m., Jonathan returns to the courthouse. Jonathan had brokered a deal with one Arcangelo Tuminelli, a criminal defense lawyer for Walter Poindexter. The case was regarding drug trafficking. It was a very normal affair for Luna. The deal was seen as favorable for the defense and was not overly critical to the career of Luna at the time. Tuminelli expected a fax that night detailing the points of the agreement from Luna. The fax would never arrive. Sometime in the next 2 hours, he again leaves the courthouse and returns home. At 11 p.m. back at his home, Jonathan receives a call on his cell phone from an unknown source. He tells his wife that he must again return to the office. This time around, Jonathan stays at the office for just over 30 minutes. His car is seen leaving the parking garage of the U.S. District Court building at 11:38 p.m. And so begins the midnight journey of Jonathan Luna. At 11:49 p.m., Luna's car passes Fort McHenry Tunnel Toll Plaza. Now into December 4th, at 12:28 a.m., Luna's car passes through Perryville Toll Plaza. At 12:46 a.m., Luna leaves the state of Maryland and enters into Delaware, passing the Delaware Line Toll Plaza. 11 minutes later, at 12:57 a.m., Jonathan's debit card is used to withdraw $200 from an Exxon ATM at Travel Plaza. At 1:45 a.m., Jonathan leaves the state of Delaware and enters into the Pennsylvania Turnpike. At 2:37 a.m., he enters into yet another state, New Jersey this time, entering the interchange 6A from New Jersey Route 130. He does not remain in New Jersey for long, and at 2:47 a.m., a mere 10 minutes later, he is back in Pennsylvania. At 3:20 a.m. in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, his debit card is again used to buy gas at a Sunoco station. At 3:30 a.m., the manager of the Alverson, Pennsylvania Roy Rogers restaurant says she sees Luna. The city of Alverson is almost 40 minutes away from King of Prussia, making this sighting highly unlikely. However, investigators cannot completely discount it. At 4:04 a.m., Luna's vehicle exits the Pennsylvania Turnpike at exit 286. A paper ticket is turned into the toll collector, even though Luna's car is outfitted with an Easy Pass, making this transaction completely unnecessary. Investigators later recover the ticket and find blood spots on the paper. DNA analysis later determines this is in fact his blood, meaning at this time Luna has already been injured. To what extent, we are not sure. At 4:05 a.m., the over 4-hour journey concludes as Luna's vehicle enters the parking lot of Sensenig and Weaver. The coroner confirms that at this point in time, without a doubt, regardless of who is driving at that time, Jonathan is alive. At 5 a.m. on December 4th, 2003, the first employee of Sensenig and Weaver arrives at work. He starts a pot of coffee and notices the faint glow of light on the horizon before the dawn breaks for the morning. Half an hour later, another employee enters the workspace, and the two go to investigate the light in the distance. About 35 yards from the office building, the two come across the origin of the light. The dashboard of Jonathan's car lights up at the yet dark morning sky. Loose cash is strewn about the interior of the car. The headlights are off, but blood is smeared across the ajar driver's side door. Blood is also found on the rear seat floor and front left side of the exterior. A horrendous scene to be sure, but most horrific is the discovery of Jonathan himself. The front end of the car is angled over the water of a nearby stream. Face down in the stream, underneath the car's front bumper, clad in a suit and black overcoat, still wearing his government court ID around his neck, is Jonathan Luna, deceased. The employees rush back to the office and alert the authorities. Jonathan has been stabbed 36 times with his own pocket knife. The majority of the stab wounds are congregated around his chest and neck, but there exists on the corpse trauma to the head as well. The coroner would describe the stab wounds as shallow and hesitant, much like the one seen in the victims of suicide. Additionally, the coroner did not observe the specific defense wounds one would expect in the victim of an assault. However, it should be noted that one of the stab wounds was substantial enough to sever an artery, and as such, the injuries were significant enough to cause death. Unbelievably though, the cause of death was determined to be drowning, meaning Jonathan had perished in the very stream he was found, surviving the myriad of stab wounds, if ever so briefly. The Lancaster County coroner who performed the autopsy ruled Luna's death a homicide by drowning. But was it a homicide? Proponents of this theory point to a litany of evidence. The sheer number of stab wounds suggests the rage of an attack rather than self-infliction. Luna had been in contact with multiple people on that night of his absconding. Arcangelo Tuminelli had been promised documents, however none arrived, suggesting Luna at some point in his night had been interrupted and been made to deter from his schedule. The pool of blood in the rear of the vehicle, confirmed to be Jonathan's, suggests that at some point in the exodus, he had been in the rear of the vehicle, leaving someone else at the steer. And finally, and most puzzling, Jonathan had left his cell phone and glasses, which he needed to drive, on his desk at the courthouse. This suggests that Jonathan may not have been capable of driving his vehicle at any time in the morning of December 4th. On the contrary, advocates for the suicide theory suggest firstly that the lack of defense and existence of hesitation wounds indicate that the man at the helm of the knife that morning was Jonathan himself. Also, consider that the weapon of choice that morning was Jonathan's own penknife. Would an attacker leave the weapon to chance and just hope that Jonathan was armed in some capacity? Even if you argue that Jonathan's attacker could have known of this weapon and that it would be on Jonathan's person that evening, a penknife is a highly unusual device for murder. Although rising from abject poverty and highly successful at a young age, there was a number of disquieting circumstances in the life of Jonathan Luna. Jonathan was scheduled to take a polygraph test concerning $36,000, which had disappeared from a bank robbery case that he had been prosecuting. Luna had also taken on a credit card unbeknownst to his wife and had racked up approximately $25,000 in debt. Also reports at the time that suggest Jonathan had dabbled on internet dating sites. Add in the stress of a newborn, potentially sick infant child, and you just may have the stress recipe for self-harm. There also exists a hybrid theory which suggests Jonathan staged his own attack. This theory posits that Jonathan willfully left behind the items in his office to suggest an abduction, possibly even having a backup pair of glasses in his car. This theory, all of the actions of December 3rd and 4th were in the interest of a Jonathan making it look as though he were taken against his will. He stops at a bank machine, he withdraws cash, he harms himself just enough to leave blood on one of the tickets. Once he pulls off the final exit in Pennsylvania, he fires his glasses into the morning sky and parks at Sensenig and Weaver. Here he begins to stab himself in the backseat of his own car, again in the appearance of him not being in control of his own actions. However, something goes wrong and he goes too far. Unable to regain his composure, he succumbs to his injuries in the stream by the well drilling enterprise, a complicit victim of his own ruse. Given the choice of all three theories, I lean towards the latter. I believe that Jonathan got involved in something untoward and had to find a way out. It may not even have been as serious as taking the $36,000 in cash. Let's just say that hypothetically this deal that he had struck with Tuminelli had been too much in favor of the defense, yet he had already committed. An attack may have afforded Jonathan the luxury of some time and alleviated himself from his commitment. He could have taken this time to reassess the trajectory and reconsider some of his choices in his life that led him to this place. Whatever the case may be, no one has ever been charged in the murder of Assistant District Attorney Jonathan Lunar. I say murder because this case is still technically considered a murder. The FBI has offered a $100,000 reward for information that will help federal agents determine whether Luna's death was a premeditated homicide, suicide, or random act of violence. The wording of this reward is particularly interesting because the FBI is publicly acknowledging that they are unsure of what led to the demise of Jonathan Luna. Pennsylvania State Police Captain Stephen McDaniel said, "The fact is, the task force is looking at every possible scenario. We would be remiss if we ignored any possible basis for Mr. Luna's death." In February 2020, the LNP newspaper in Lancaster County requested that a judge unseal the coroner's records pertaining to Luna's death that were found to be in the possession of the county instead of federal prosecutors, as has been previously thought. On January 13, 2021, Judge David Ashworth ruled that the documents would remain sealed, writing that releasing these records would pose a threat of substantially hindering or jeopardizing the open, active, and ongoing criminal investigation into the death of Jonathan Luna. Thank you for listening to the story of Jonathan Luna. Please feel free to weigh in the comments and like and subscribe. Before I go, please know that you are a wonderful individual capable of good. If you are struggling right now, as a lot of us are, please remember that we are in this together, and you are here for a reason. Please be kind to yourself and those you come in contact with. I'm Brandon Smith, and I'll see you next time.